Not all opinions and decisions are equal. Uninformed opinions and uninformed decisions are not as good as informed ones. Wisdom gives us guidance. We can build wisdom through awareness, through historiography, through the diversity of thought, and by combating black and white thinking. Awareness is simply recognizing that there are complex questions to understanding human experiences, human condition, and the human nature, and there are multiple answers to that. Multiple answers means that our different cultures can come up with different solutions for the same problem. The human experience and the human condition do not boil down to 2 + 2 = 4. It's far more complex than that. Our awareness of others allows us to understand that there are many different solutions, and we may internalize many different solutions in order to formulate our understanding of the world. That's certainly true when it comes to history. History is not some very neat scientific process. History has subjectivity to it. Or in other words, we can study the history of how history is made. That's historiography. That not all histories are equal, and not all written accords are equal of weight. We might use history of significant people and significant events to understand the history of a group. We might understand firsthand experiences and primary sources like letters and newspaper articles and journals that come directly from that time period, or artifacts from that time period. Or we might look at the reflections of the people that come after those people. All of this gives us a different kind of understanding of the historical view. What we have to rely on then is a diversity of thought. One way of thinking cannot solve the human answers or the human questions. We need different ways of thinking. It's been said that if you use the same kind of thinking that got you into a problem to try to get you out of that problem, you will just continue yourself in a loop. We have the benefit as human beings of looking at the past to understand patterns so that we can predict the future and make sense of today. That's what the diversity of thought means. That's the beauty of diversity. It's not just that we should celebrate multiculturalism or try to understand different walks of life, although those are important. It's that we get many different perspectives, and that allows us to understand things in a more comprehensive way. And that's key to fighting black and white thinking. Black and white thinking is a logical fallacy. It takes a question about human existence and makes it either or, true, false, yes, no, agree, disagree. That is rarely the case in the human life. Our lives are complicated and messy and don't have a lot of structure or order to them, which makes for a very messy kind of answer to questions. When someone says to you, you have to pick A or B, or you have to choose a black and white solution to a complex human problem, they're using fallacious thinking, or they might be manipulating your thinking. Combat that. Use diversity of thought. Use your understanding of history. Use awareness culturally and globally to fight that black and white and recognize there's much gray to most human existence. A simple ethical question like, is murder wrong? Isn't black or white. It might sound like it is. Murder is wrong. Yes, that's the answer. But it's more complicated, as we know. What about in times of self-defense? Or what about in times of war? Or what about in times of capital punishment? There have been many answers to this question, and it has complicated gray areas. It's rarely black and white. That is true for most of human questions and human existence. Lastly, this leads us to the way of life. How do we live? The me that I am today, that person who I am right now, is a story that is accumulated through my lifetime. And I have created it through my values, my attitudes, my beliefs, and my behaviors. We rewrite our memories. We create autobiographies of who we are. And that's how we form our identities. Our identities are written they're written in our minds, and they're written through the way we communicate to others about who we are. Identity is cultivated and curated with intention. What that means is that we grow who we are and we curate it. We pull from all kinds of different sources, our families, our communities, our readings, our interests, our hobbies, our friends, our relationships, our thoughts, our ideas, our values, our attitudes. All of these things are curated and collected to form who I am and who I am as a person. Personhood is a complicated part of the humanities, and it is often the central theme of a lot of different art expressions. How I create my identity is through my ideologies. Whatever I adhere to in my belief systems and my value systems formulates my identity. But I caution us that we should continue to challenge authority. Again, a logical fallacy is to simply accept something from someone because of their position in the world, or from a tradition because we've always done this, therefore we should continue to do it. Fallacies in the way we form things. We should challenge these ideas. Maybe a tradition holds true, but we should question why it holds true, as opposed to just accepting it on its face value. That will lead to changing models of how we understand things, changing models of the universe. Throughout history, we've continued to change our place in the stars. Originally, we thought we were the center. We eventually realized that the sun was the center, and we went around the sun. Then we found that the sun was simply one solar system among many in a galaxy. We found that galaxies were one galaxy in many, many galaxies of part of the universe, and that we were just this tiny speck on this tiny blue dot floating around a very small yellow sun. Those changing models change the way we see our purpose in the world. We can do that on grand scales, macroscopic scales. We can also do that on microscopic scales, on your mind and the theories of consciousness, on theories of right and wrong and morality, on values and belief systems. These are ever-living, changing ways of explaining the human experience, the human condition, and human nature. We are stewards of our time. What that means is we are caretakers. A steward is a person who takes care of something when something needs to be guarded, needs a warden. It comes from an ancient medieval idea that when a king were to leave, he would leave a steward in his place to maintain his kingdom in his stead. We are the stewards of history. Those that came before us have worked towards the life that we live today. We have a duty to those people to continue to preserve and grow and cultivate our identities and our ideologies and what it means to be a human being. We have a stewardship for others and for the planet. We have a duty to the natural resources of this world. We have a duty to one another because we are interconnected. There's a fallacy that says that I live in my own world and I'm responsible for my own world and my own achievements, and I owe nothing to anyone else. That myth of self-reliance seems to have come up from this idea that I don't feel connected to others, but we absolutely are. I know that I stand on the shoulders of geniuses. All of these ideas that I have today, I only can have because those who came before me, or because of those I've interacted with. Students and loved ones and friends and strangers and people I've met from all walks of life in different cultures around the world have all helped me make sense of what it means to be my personhood or my identity. Recognizing that interconnectedness, recognizing that we are reliant on each other, creates a more holistic sense of personhood. So let's put all this together. When we reach our answers, we must recognize it's probably going to involve more than one decision. When I start to say I know things about the world today and who I am as a person, that is going to come from many, many different decisions. Some of them will come from my experiences, some of them will come from my relationships, and some of them will come from my knowledge that I've amassed by learning and reading and going to school and studying. Those decisions will help me answer those 4 fundamental questions of how we are, who we are, and what we are in the world today. When people follow their paths and forge a path through wisdom, everyone is happier and society is healthier and more prosperous. That's what the humanities give us, a pathway for everyone to find their worldview, grow their worldview, challenge it, change it, continue to improve upon it, and improve upon themselves. By doing that, we become better people and we become a better society. Understanding where we were lets us find the patterns of the past, both as collectively and individually, which in turn lets us predict the future. I can assume certain things about my future based on my experiences so far in my past. I can assume ideas about society based on society's decisions and things that have happened historically. Those patterns allow me to forge ideas about the future. And when we create those futures in our minds, those visions, that gives us a set of purpose, that gives us goals, that gives us hope in the now. Our purpose is to achieve those goals. Those goals have been formulated by understanding what's happened. That gives me meaning in the now. The present is created by understanding the future, which is by understanding the past. And that is how the humanities come together. Thanks everybody for watching. I look forward to seeing the comments. Take care.